Okay, Nun Gimel Amud Beis, and the Mishnah, which is really a continuation of the Mishnah before, spoke about Hezek Shen and Nicker, and I gave a few examples. And this is really a continuation, and it has another example, and it says Hakohanim Shapiglu.
Camera, please.
Oh, thank you. How do I do this? 1 second, please. Is that good? Yeah, okay. Okay, if I made a mistake, then please.
Yes.
Okay, I take that back. And so it's another example of the Mishnah before that spoke about Hezek Shen and Nicker. Talk about Metame, you don't see anything. Metameya, you don't see anything. Manasech, you don't see anything. And Piglu means that they made it Piglu. According to Piglu b'mikdash. So Piglu means when a Kohen, according to what the Gemara says, Piglu means when a Kohen is doing the avoda. If he says, I'm doing this with the intention of eating it or putting it on the mizbeach chutz mana. Not that he actually did it mana, but he had the intention during the avoda that he or the mizbeach should consume it chutz mana. So the korban becomes possible. So there's a sugya about it. Let's see, but not in this sector, but so let's talk about that. Let's say that he said it. So it says exchange liquor. You look at the korban, you don't see anything. But he moved the korban. The korban the whole man moved the korban. So now he needs korban. So it's another case. Another case. You can say the book is Hametameh, Hamedameh, Hamenasech, and Hamefagel. All of them is the same thing. And here it says that it's chayiv and it means b'mezid. Like I said before, same as Mishnah before. That it's only b'mezid. The printer is separated. I would have thought that should be together with the Mishnah before. It's another example of Hezek Shen. I think I used this before. Agav, it says Mezid Chayovin. That seems to be the Tikkun Olam. And according to some, that's how we paskin that the Raisa Hezek Shen and Nicker Lo Shmi Hezek. And they made it a Shmi Chayiv because Tikkun Olam that he shouldn't go about being Mufagel and getting away with it. So this is another example of Hezek Shen and Nicker. What? Right, Pigul is the thing, and the Kohen is Mufagel. How is he Mufagel? That he says, I'm doing this on the condition, on the thought of doing it at the wrong time. Amazing, yeah, he wants to make the person lose the korban, a real bad guy. So he's trying to pay. If he would have been Potter, then he would have been able to be mazik people without paying. So they made a tikkun olam that it should be amazing. Also, the Gemara says someplace they made also that it should become tummy. It should become tummy that he should be chayiv to pay. Or else he'd be going around being mefagel people's korban. Anybody that comes in he doesn't like, so he's mefagel his korban and doesn't have to pay because that's a shen and nikah. So they made a tikkun olam. No, that the Gemara says that there's no chance that they're not going to know because the whole reason he's doing it is in order to damage them. It doesn't damage them. He doesn't care about it getting a korban, not getting a korban. He wants that he should know. Right. You could learn the opposite. You could learn that the Gemara says that Shogig is potter in order that he should admit, but it doesn't say that. Here the Pashas, the Gemara would arrive from this Mishnah that the Pashas in the Mishnah means that the Mezid Chayavim is the Tikkun Olam because really be potter menadin has a Shen Nikolosh Hezek, and they're running the Etakon should be chayiv in order that he should have to pay. And he shouldn't get away with it, being mazik people without paying. The rest of the Gemara is not going to talk about it. I would have even suggested to the printer to put it together with the Mishnah before, because this thing has nothing to do with this example. It has to do with the example that nothing has a Shenanika. The whole thing is not going to be as a Shenanika. It's just an example of the Mishnah before. According to Shmuel, you don't learn Knas from Knas. Whatever they said. Whatever they didn't say, they didn't say. So they have to say old examples. They have to say Metame, Metabeh, Menaseh, and the Fagel because you can't learn one from the other. According to Rav, you might have to explain what's the chiddush in this more than the other case we had already. Why you could learn one from the other. So the Gemara didn't see the Gemara talks about it, but that would be interesting. According to Rav, what's the chiddush of people more than other Hezek Shen and Nicker? Tana Rabbana, a whole different subject today, nothing to do with Hezek Shen and Nicker. Tana Rabbana, Hayosim Obataris. Somebody was working for somebody with Taurus. He had Trumas, Kachim, whatever, and somebody was working for him. And he said they became Tameh. He comes to the boss and says that the Taurus became Tameh. He was working with him, for him. He wasn't there, Dafka. Doesn't mean that a Dafka was there. You had somebody working for you, taking care of your Truma, and he comes to you and says, I'm sorry, but it became Tameh. What's that? Oh, yeah, Oseimo Bataris, like Lasos, Lavo, same thing. Oved. Do you want to say Oved? Ovedim Ovetaris. Osim Ovetaris. He was working. What? He was working. Somebody was had a worker that was working with your taris. You have truma, kachim, and somebody was in the kitchen. You had the cook, and the cook comes out and says, "You should know, it became tummy." It doesn't even say he did it. It happened. It happened. Nothing to do with the asugi of almost Pesach Shein and Nicholas. Or another example, he was doing the carbon for him, like a Kohen in the base of Mikdash. It became pigul. Of course, in order to become pigul, he had to have done it. But it could have been it was b'shogig. It's not the subject over here. The question is he naman to say that it's possible? He comes and says that the taras became tamei, the carbon became. So it says naman. It says that he's believed. Then it says sometimes he's not believed. Maybe he wants to mess him up. Maybe it really is not true. Maybe it's kosher.
Maybe it's kosher.
For whatever motivation he has. So he is Naaman. Usually we have Avrohom and Bisurin when something is, he's saying that's kosher. He comes down and he says that's kosher. So that's a chiddush, Avrohom and Bisurin. This is the opposite sugya. That as far as we know it should be kosher. When he comes and he says that it's not kosher. So it says here that he's believed. You believe him. That's what it says so far. It doesn't say that today. He says that on a certain day, last week I worked for you, it became tamei. Or he says, the korbanos that I did for you on a certain day became pigul. Eino naman. That's the whole brisa. If he says that it became tamei, or now, so then he's naman. If he says on a certain day, it's not naman. What's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference? Machna reish and machna sefer. What's the difference between the reish and the sefer? It doesn't make sense the way it says it. Amar Abaye, called shebiyado naman. He's only naman as long as it's in his power, in his domain. So when it says beyond ploni, it's already not by him anymore. So he's not naman. He made his. We're not gonna believe him because it's not biyado. And they also on the same day also might be doing that. What's the difference? That he's never when it's biyado. When it's biyado, since he can still two ways to learn. Since he can still parcel it, maybe that's why he has more namanas. In both cases, we're gonna choshesh. Is he lying? Is he saying the truth? We don't know. When it's biyado, he has more namanas. When it's biyado, what does biyado mean? You might learn biyado means that he has the ability to parcel it now. If I want to parcel it, I can parcel it right now. I still have it. I can parcel it. So I can make it pigul if I want to. I could make it tamei if I want to. So then he's believed because he has power, migu kind of thing. He could have made it tamei. He could have made a puzzle. But once he doesn't have it, then we believe him because he has nemanis, because it's biyodo. And if it's not biyodo, he's not neman anymore. He has to have the backing of being biyodo in order to be neman. That was Abaye. Others, just to point out another possibility, biyodo maybe doesn't mean he has to have the ability to parcel it. The other might mean that it's in his domain. As long as it's in his domain, then he has more than one. It's not because he has the possibility to parcel it. You might have some cases coming up, examples that might not be able to parcel it, even if he has it. We'll get to that. But just to point out, there's two possibilities. Does biyodo mean that it's in his ability to parcel it, or means that it's in his jurisdiction? It's under in his domain. Maybe there's more, but one and one is when it's by him.
To make it pigul has to do b'shas avoda.
Right. So pigul could only be b'shas avoda. It means even if he was biyodo mean, it has to be according to the pshat that it means he has to be able to be parcel it. It means it's only never as long as he's still in the middle of the avoda. There are a few stages of avoda. There are 4 avodas. How does it go over there? Shita, Kabbalah, Allah, and Shvika. There are different avodas. So during the avodos, he's believed to say that it became pigul. Once he finished the avoda, and it's not possible.
So this conversation is taking place in the base of Mikdash.
It's in the base of Mikdash, yeah. It's in the base of Mikdash. It has to be in the base of Mikdash, and he says that became pigul. So according to Abaye, is only neman as long as it's still possible to make a pigul, maybe. Go ahead. Why should that be? Why is biyado more than neman? But it's not biyado. Yeah. But we don't believe you because you don't have any backing. You don't have this. I don't know the word is backing. You only neman together with the power to parcel it. Even. So the Gemara doesn't mean right. So the Gemara is explaining today and tomorrow. Today and yesterday doesn't mean today. It means if it's still biyado. Today is another way of saying that I'm still in the middle of it. I still have the ability to parcel it, or it's still under my jurisdiction. It doesn't have to do with today and tomorrow, really. That's today and yesterday. Yesterday is another way of saying that it's out of his domain. That's how Abaye explains. Rava Amar, a different shot. It doesn't have to be in your domain to parcel it. You're still neman. Kegon the ashkechem v'lo amalei v'lo midi. He met him once in between, and he didn't tell him it's possible. He met him. He said, "How's everything? Everything's good. Everything's good. Fine. Everything's fine. Have a good day." The next day he comes and says, "You should know yesterday was tell me. Why did you tell me yesterday?" That shows something's fishy. The fact that he met him once and he didn't say anything, and then he met him and tells him that his people. So yesterday, when it says Yom Ploni, it's not just, you have to think of something else. Yom Ploni means, and we met since that time, since that Yom Ploni until today, we met, and you didn't tell me anything. And now you say that Yom Ploni, it was possible. You should have said it before. There's a race. Yes. On Sunday he made a korban. On Monday he met him. On Tuesday he says on Sunday, but Monday on Sunday. On Tuesday he says that on Sunday. So how come you didn't tell me Monday you met me? You didn't say anything. That's the reason why he's not Neman. Otherwise he found him. Right? He met him. Actually, he found him, but he didn't say anything. And then afterwards he found him and he told him. That's the case that you're not Neman. So according to Rabbi, you don't need Biyado. According to Rabbi, you have to have Biyado. According to Rabbi, even if it's not Biyado, as long as he didn't meet him, it could be a week later. If they didn't meet him the whole time, and then he says that it was possible, he's believed according to Rabbi. According to Rabbi, he's not believed since it's not anymore Biyado. Machlokes. A story. Again? Rabbi says not believed if it's not Biyado. He has to have a Biyado in order to be believed. Rabbi says that he's believed even not Biyado. Only when there's a problem against him that he's not believed. When it's a kasha, how come you didn't tell me yesterday? We met. You didn't say anything. You just said, hello, good morning. You didn't say anything. Why didn't you say anything? That means that it was kosher. So you can take it this way. Abai holds he has to have Biyado in order to be believed. Rabbi holds he's believed without a Biyado. But if there's a kasha on him, then he's not believed. And the Yom Ploni is the case where there's a kasha on him, because then the Yom Ploni, after we met already, how come we didn't say the first time we met? Here comes the story. He told his friend, his fellow man, that the times that I worked with you on that day, Yom Ploni, became Tameh. So what would you say? The Brisa before said that he's not believed. Aslak Ahmed Rabbi Ami. He came to Rabbi Ami to ask him the halacha, that he told me that the worker told me that he was Tameh on Yom Ploni. Amalei Shura Sadin Eino Neman. The din is that he's not believed. You don't have to believe him. You can assume that it's okay, even though he told you, believe me, that it's became Tameh, you don't believe him. Shura Sadin Eino Neman. Allah is maybe, I don't know. Why does he use that word, Shura Sadin? Why does he not say Eino Neman? Shura Sadin Eino. Let of the laws you not believe. I don't know. I don't know why he says Shura Sadin. So that was Rabami. Rabami said like the Brisa that says that it's not believed, so it's kosher. Amal of Rabbi Asi. Rabbi Asi said to Rabbi Ami, Rebbe at the Omer came. So I'm surprised that Rabbi Asi calls Rabbi Ami Rebbe. Usually it goes together. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi seem to be chavrusas or friends, but here he calls him Rebbe. Rabbi Asi said to Rabbi Ami, Rebbe at the Omer came. Achiyam Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yochanan was the Rebbe of Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, I think. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, I think so. So he said in the name of Rabbi Yossi, that's a Tana, Ma ese shatorah minatu. What can I do? The Torah does believe him. Means even though the Brisa seems to say before that he's not believed, Yom Ploni. He said Yom Ploni is not believed. And Rabbi Yossi says, what can I do? The Torah does believe him. What? Heminatu. What can I do that the Torah believes him? That's the end of Rabbi Yossi. Now the Gemara's going to try. We're moving, what's that? Story was that he said Yom Ploni, the worker came and said Yom Ploni, it was Tameh. And Rabbi said the halacha is Eino Neman. You don't have to believe, right? Yom Ploni, we said Yom Ploni, you don't believe. And Rabbi said that, but Rabbi said that there's a Brisa, Rabbi Yossi says that he is believed against the Brisa before. We don't yet know why. He says the Torah believes him. I'll bring you a proof the Torah believes him, even though it's a Yom Ploni, even against the Brisa. Against the Brisa says Yom Ploni is not believed. And Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi is also a Tana, and he says the Torah does believe him. As if it would say, Rabbi Yossi argues and says even Yom Ploni is believed, and the Raya is from the Torah. Where's the Torah? Where's the Torah? Where does the Torah believe in Yom Ploni? So it seems the whole Gemara is going in Abaya. The whole Gemara coming up is going in Abaya. It's very interesting to me that the Gemara, the whole question now is going to be Abaya's way of looking at it, is Biyado or not. The Gemara doesn't go into Rabbah. Did he meet him and not? Doesn't go to Rabbah. I don't know. Seems very strange that the whole Gemara is already of Yochanan and Abasi and maybe of Yossi, and it's all going in Abaya's way of thinking. So I'm surprised. But here the Gemara goes like this: Yom Ploni means if it's not Biyado. I bring you a right that the Torah believes him even though it's not anymore Biyado. Where do you see? The Gemara is asking, where do you see that the Torah believes him? Torah minatu. What can I do? The Torah believes him. Means what can I? You are the rabbis. You're saying he's not believed. What can I do? The Torah does believe him. It's not a kasha. They have a kasha on Rabbi Amir. Rabbi passing like the Brisa, and Rabbi told him you shouldn't pass like the Brisa because Rabbi Yossi argues, and he brings a right from the Torah that the Torah does believe him even when it's not biyodo. The Brisa said if it's not, we're going to buy. If he believes that, believe it means that it's true, and it's not. So we're going to buy his way of talking. That the Brisa said that if it's not biyodo, you don't trust him. You only trust him if it's biyodo, and the being right from the Torah that is believed, even if it's not biyodo. Where do you see that? Where do you see that the Torah believes him? Rav Yitzchak bar Bisna, who's an Amora, Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur Yochiach. The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is going to prove it because, I think Mark explains right away, Tichiyama Pigel Mehemen. If he says that the korban that I did is Pigel, he's believed. And how do you know that how could you trust him? You weren't there together with him. He said the korban that he did inside the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. How do you know? How do you know that it's Pigel? Well, nobody's allowed to be there. When the Kohen Gadol does that, no one's allowed to be there. So no one's there. It means that he comes out and he says that it's Pigel. I did this Zrikas Adam with the Kavanah to bring it on the Mizbeach or form on the Srafim, whatever. It's not biyodo. It's not biyodo. Because he came out. And while he was inside, nobody's there. You don't hear him. So he comes out and he says it's Pigel. So how do you believe him? That's not biyodo anymore. So as a raya, I love you. You must see this. You see his belief, even though it's not biyodo. According to Rav, this wouldn't make sense because according to Rav, it's only if he comes out, then he says everything's fine. Then he says no, it's not good, but doesn't say that. So the Gemara is going in a buy it, and you see that the Kohen Gadol is believed to make it Pigel, even if it's not biyodo anymore. I said Elallah Mishum de Mehemen. You see that right here? Yeah, it must be. Is it not because he's believed? So you see, he's believed. Well, he could say he made it by mistake. He could say he did a mistake. He thought that he's supposed to do it tomorrow. Pretty bad. Yes, okay. That doesn't make a difference. We're not going with the Hezek Shen and Nikah with this the amazing. He says I made a mistake. They had a mistake. So he's believed. Now the Gemara doesn't say how do you know he's believed. Who says he's believed? It's partial. So Taisa has the kashi on the bottom. Taisa says what do you mean? It is the right. So what do you mean? If he does Pigel, what? And if he makes Pigel, it's going to be Pigel. I'm not sure what you're going with the Daraisa. The Torah, the Gemara assumes that the Torah says that it's Pigel even on Yom Kippur, and no one's there to testify. It's only the Kohen Gadol comes out after it's biyodo, and he still believed. Taisa says, the last few lines in Taisa says, how does the Gemara know that he's believed? Maybe he's not believed. Who told the Gemara that he's believed? The Gemara says, okay. The Pshita, the B'chol HaKavanah Shach Pigel B'chol Dalar Avodas. Go Taisa says the Gemara knows the Pasha that all the Kavanas that applies Pigel on all the 4 stages of the Avodah. So it's Pasha that the Kohen Gadol believed. I still don't understand even after the Taisa because even though it's Shaykh Pigel doesn't mean you have to believe him. It means that it really is Shaykh Pigel, but maybe the Kohen Gadol is not trusted. We don't believe him. The Kohen Gadol really apostled it. Taisa has the Kasha. How does the Gemara know? I'm just pointing out that if anybody has the Kasha, Taisa has the Kasha, and I don't understand Taisa's terms. But Gemara is assuming that for sure the Kohen Gadol who says his Pigel is believed, and there's nobody there to testify, so you're believing him, even though it's not biyodo anymore. That's the Gemara's proof. No. I'm not saying maybe Kohen Gadol is different because he's believed more. The Gemara doesn't. The Gemara doesn't give it. The Gemara. Okay, we've had like maybe Yaakov says there have been Kohanim Gedolim that did worse. So the Gemara still tries to get out of it. Maybe not. Maybe the case that is believed is because we testify. The Dilma, the Shamani, the Puggle, we hear him. He says very loud, I raise that pig. I'm going to do it, I'm Manas. We hear him outside. He's inside and he says, I'm doing this, I'm Manas. No, he thought that he was supposed to do it this way. Whatever you want. But there's no difference in Gemara Shogig and Mish. It isn't an issue. So maybe you hear him. The way it's true, you can't be inside, but you can be outside. And maybe he said out loud, I'm doing this, I'm Manas, Israel, whatever. Allah is Mano. The Gemara says, no, you don't believe him. He allowed the Mehemen, if it's not for his trust, even if you heard him, it also wouldn't be believed. Maybe you heard him saying after he did the zrika, then he says, I'm doing this, I'm not, you must make everybody crazy. And he really finished Avodah already, it's not B'yada. And he's saying, because he's saying out loud, people should hear him. But he really finished the race, not B'yada. Very fascinating. The Dimal of Basa Hachi Kama. Right. Not Hachi Kama. The Dimal of Basa Hachi Kama. Right. Kama after the word Hachi. Maybe he said it after it was finished already. So even though you heard him saying it, I'm doing it on Manas Chosazmano, maybe it's already not Biyodo because it's after the time. After he did Avodah already. Then he said it. Then he said that it's Pigul. So when you heard it's nothing, it's Bar B'Teilim. And it's not Biyodo. The only reason why you say it's Pigul is because you trust him. That he said, I did it Pigul. I made it Pigul. So you have a raya against the price, even though it's not Biyodo, it's Nema. Rabbi Yossi. This is Rabbi Yossi's proof that you trust him. This is Rabbi Yossi's Pshan Rabbi Yossi, that you see that you trust him, even if it's not Biyodo. So the whole case before we said in the Brisa that if it's not Biyodo, he's not Nema, Rabbi Yossi argues and says, I have a raya from the Torah that he's believed even if it's not Biyodo. The Gemara has one more kasha, but Dilma the Chazine b'Pishpesh. Maybe somebody does see him because even though he's not allowed to be inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but there was a little window that you're able to see into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So Pishpesh is a little door. Pishpesh is really what you have. Let's say in Shar Yafa, you have the huge doors, and then you have a little door inside. That's called a Pishpesh. And Rashi points out that the Gemara really doesn't mean a Pishpesh. It really means a little lul. It was a small window, hole in the back of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that if you were behind the Kodesh HaKadoshim outside, you'd be able to see inside. Why did they make such a window? The Rashi brings down that the din is in order to shech the korban, there has to be Pesach Chol Moed, and that only would allow in the eastern side of the Beis HaMikdash, where you're Pesach Chol Moed, the opposite to Pesach, the opening. But on the sides, there were no windows and doors, so you wouldn't be allowed to shech on the side of the Beis HaMikdash, and sometimes there were a lot of kabbanas to bring, and they would go to the side of the Beis HaMikdash also, and the back of the Beis HaMikdash, as long as they'd be inside the courtyard. So the Gemara says that they made pishpishim. They made on the two sides, they made some kind of a small door, and the back, they also made a lul to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So wherever you are in the Beis HaMikdash, you'd be able to be Pesach on Keshech all over. So let's say the Korban Pesach, let's say that the people came in they had to have a lot of people to come into the Beis HaMikdash in order to do the Korban Pesach. They made it in 3 shifts. So they didn't have to be only on the eastern side. They could be also on the sides. They could even be behind the Beis HaMikdash. Doesn't have to be in the north. I'm not sure what you mean by the north. No, not talking about that. You're talking about the korbanos. Some korbanos have to be dark in the north half of the base of the north half. Not talking about that. We're talking about Kashim Kalim that don't have to be dark in the north, and they're not dark in the north. They don't have to be in the north. They're allowed to be in the north. Of course. This is Kashim Kalim. Of course, that's what it says. No, you learn in the Eis Yamakom, it says that this is the Kabbalah says B'chashitasa B'tzafon. This is Shitasa B'chomokam Bazar. B'chomokam Bazar. And B'chomokam Bazar doesn't only mean in the front of the Beis HaMikdash, it means also on the sides of the Beis, even the back of the Beis HaMikdash, because there's a Pesach Chol Moed wherever you go. Anyway, there was a little window over there that you'd be able to see if someone would want to peek in to see that. Interesting, you're allowed to do that, but whatever it could. You'd be able to peek in to see the Kodesh of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. So there's no raya. There's no real raya. Of course, it's a dochak, but the whole thing is a dochak. The whole thing is a strange case. But the Gemara says it's not a raya. Rabbi Yossi brought a raya that you can believe the Kohen Gadol that he made pigul, because if not for believing him, there's no way to know, because no one's allowed to be inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Gemara says it could be that someone was looking inside, and that's how the Kohen Gadol has pigul on Yom Kippur. Otherwise, we wouldn't believe him. Right. And it could be you have to speak it out. That was Chaim David asked. Maybe Pigul was always going to be B'dibur. There's a question over there in the Rishonim, I think, that a Pigul could be only B'dibur, maybe. It would be nice if we have a picture of the Beis HaMikdash. Do we have? One? You have one? Right. So the two. So when it comes out on the front, when it comes out, not for Kodesh HaKadosh. Rashi is saying that when it says what doesn't maybe also a picture of everybody, unless you could put it onto the screen somehow. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, same picture as Leib Yaakov had. So this is the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, not everybody can see it, but this is the Kodesh HaKodashim. This is the Beis Hamikdash. This is the Ulam. And you're coming up the steps. So on the two sides, there's a place where they would put the knives. Some say the knives. But anyway, if you see over there are two. That's called a pishpesh over there. Pesach. It says Pesach and a Pesach. It's a little a doorway, whatever. Doorway. And that would make that you'd be allowed to do over there. And behind the Kodesh HaKodashim, here it doesn't have a picture over here, but you'd be able to see the Kodesh HaKodashim also. So we said that there was a pishpesh behind. There's a wall also. There was a window behind the Kodesh HaKodashim also. That's what Rashi comes to answer. Talking about the rule that was behind the Kodesh HaKodashim. So the Gemara deflects a little bit. Kasha, right? Rabbi Yossi is right, not such a right. But anyway, what came out that according to the bride, the question was, are you believed to say something's possible if it's not biyodo? The bride said, you're not believed, whereby explained. And Rabbi Yossi argued and said, I'll bring you a proof that you believe even if it is not biyodo. And the right is not mamish right. You could deflect the right by saying that they saw him in the Kodesh HaKodashim. Just to point out again that Rabbi says it's something you don't need biyodo. You just need that he shouldn't have come and met you and didn't say anything, and then the next day he told you that it's no good. That you not believe, but you don't need. Rabbi holds you don't need biyodo. New story, very interesting stories. Somebody came to Rabbi Ami. Amalei, the man told Rabbi Ami he was a sofer. Say no. Period. Kasha. Period. Kasha was a kasha and Abyosi, because you could say that someone saw the Kohen Gadol through the pishpesh. So it's not such a riot. A story. Ahudas lakamed Rabami. Amalei. So Torah shekasavti leploni. Askor shalom lo kasavti lishman. I'm a sofer. I wrote a Sefer Torah for somebody. I got how much money you get for Sefer Torah? $50,000. And I didn't write the Shemos Lishma. All the Shemos Hashem. You speak to Kevavke, you're supposed to write the Shem Hashem. And I didn't write the Shem Hashem. So Sefer Torah is possible. He didn't go to the man, he went to Rabami. He went to the Rav first. So what do you want to do? He wanted to pass the Sefer Torah. It's like saying before, the Torah is apostle, the Korban is possible. He says the Sefer Torah is possible. I made a Sefer Torah for him, and it's possible. Amar, just have to make it smaller here on the screen. Amalei, first white line. Sefer Torah biyad me. Who has the Sefer Torah? Where's the Sefer Torah? You gave it to me already. Amalei biyad lekech. I gave it to him already. Let's Sefer Torah. Everything was nice. I met him already. Also, you could throw in. Amalei nemanata la'avsit schorcha biyata nema la'avsit Sefer Torah. You lose your money. You believe to lose your money because you say that it's supposed to Sefer Torah, but the Sefer Torah is kosher. Why? Because it's not biyado anymore. Or we'll throw in Rava that he met him from Sefer Torah, that a big party, didn't say anything, and then he goes to the Rava and says it's really puzzle. How come he didn't say it the first time? So you're not believed. Sefer Torah is kosher, but you lose your money. You lose the $50,000. I'm sorry that you read it too fast. You believe to lose your pay, but you're not believed to lose the Sefer Torah, to ruin the Sefer Torah. So Sefer Torah is kosher, but you lose your money, $50,000. Why do you lose it? Because you said that he doesn't owe you any money, but you're not believed. But so Sefer Torah is kosher. He got a free. He got a free deal. He gets the kosher Sefer Torah, but you lose your money because he doesn't have to believe you that the Sefer Torah is possible. But you admit that the Sefer Torah is possible, you're not eligible to get paid for it. The Gemara goes on the side issue now. As far as our sugi, that's finished. That you're not believed. If it's not biyodo according to Abaya or according to Rabba, if you already met him and didn't say anything, so you're not believed. But here the Gemara was on the side subject, but you do lose your money. We'll ask a sofa. L'shem, kedushas Hashem. A side issue now. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah Nihi the hipsit schar as koros schar the Sefer Torah kulei mi hipsit. We're going on a side subject now. How much money he loses? Why does he lose the whole Sefer Torah, the whole $50,000? The Sefer Torah is good besides the Shemos. So the whole Sefer Torah is good. You have to fix up the Shemos, but the Sefer Torah is good, so you should get. I don't know how much does it cost a Sefer Torah without the Shemos. So Chaim David says there's no way to fix it up. But the Gemara says maybe you could fix it up. So the Gemara is not going to talk about your way. The Gemara says a different way. Amalei in. First he says yes, but you loses the whole thing. Shekolsa. He means it's it's all is good, whatever. It's correct. The hipsters charas askaros, you do lose the money for writing Hashem's name. All the shemers you have to deduct the price of all the names. But why should you lose the rest of the Sefer Torah? Amalei in, yes, he loses the whole Sefer Torah. Shekol Sefer Torah shein askaros shelo ksuvas lishman and a shabaklum. Because it's not worth anything. The Sefer Torah that the shemos were not written lishma is not worth anything. What's he going to do with Sefer Torah that has no shemos? So the question is, make it kosher. But lever alayu kolmas. But lakache, why can't he write it over again? It's written already, the Shem Hashem Shalom Lishma, and now he's going to write over it again with black ink, to write over, black on black. So it's a question. Come on, who says it's no good? You're assuming that it's not good. That must be not against Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds that it is good. Name of the local Rabbi Yehuda seems to be against Rabbi Yehuda because Rabbi Yehuda holds that you could do it again. The Tnan, Areisha Yitzarach Lichtav Es Hashem, V'neskav Lichtav Yehuda, the Tav Lo Bo Daled. This word Daled is a letter Daled. Really, we should say a Dalis. So he was ready. He's up to the Sefer Torah, the place where it's supposed to be Shem Hashem, and he thought for some reason it's supposed to be Yehuda, and he forgot about the Dalet. And the Ma'aseh he wrote Yud Kei Vav Kei. Means he was supposed to write Yud Kei Vav Kei. He did write Yud Kei Vav Kei, but he thought he was writing Yehuda. So in Kitzur, he wrote Shem Hashem without Kedusha Hashem. So what do? No, he's supposed to write Yud Kei Vav Kei, but he thought he's supposed to write Yehuda, but luckily he left out the Dalet, and he wrote Yud Kei Vav Kei. And he comes out that he wrote the Shem Hashem without the Kavanah, without the Shema. Right? So what are you supposed to do? Write over it again. Take the kulmas is the quill, and write over again the same thing, black on black, and it's kosher. No. Rabbi knows that it's kosher. It's not the best. And the Gemara seems to say that it's possible. I'm not sure why it says not the best, it's possible also. So machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda holds you could do it. Rabbanan say you can't do it. That you can't do black on black is not considered that you did anything. You didn't do anything. Okay, you have to. How you can fix it up? Maybe you can take out that one flaw here. But here the whole Sefer Torah is full of shemos, and the Gemara says according to Rabbi Yehuda they could fix it up. So right, but even though it's not lishma. He's saying that he can't erase it even though it's shalom lishma. Nowadays, what would they do? There's a fancy way of doing it nowadays. There's a mumcha how to shave off with half the thickness of the cloth, and so you have the whole piece of cloth with Hashem's name, and the cloth is not a hole in it. You have to know how to do that. It's not an amazing thing, and they say they know how to do it. People, that's their job. He showed you the shame. His mom is perfect. And they know how to do it without. Yeah, some are thicker, some are thinner. It depends. Probably it's easier. The thicker it is, the easier it is. But that's what they can do nowadays. But that's not a standard procedure over here. So the one wants to know how could you do it. So according to Yehuda, you can write over it. According to one, you can't write over it. So therefore, when the Gemara says that there's no eitzah for the Sefer Torah, the Gemara says, are you going according to the Rabbanan that you can't fix it up? Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, you could fix it up. Just write over it again. The Gemara says, no, it's not good even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda. Even Rabbi Yehuda will not agree over here. Ad can come Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yehuda spent one time. He made his mistake. You can write it over. You can make it right over again. But the Kuli Sefer Torah low, but the whole Sefer Torah not. Every time it says Hashem's name, it looks like it's spotted. That means that you have bold, like you have a document sometimes, and you have bold. Every time it says Hashem's name, it's going to be more bold. It means when you write black over black, it's going to be different shade. It's going to be blacker. So it doesn't look good. So it's puzzled because it's not going to be a nice Sefer Torah. So this was a story that he said that you lose all the money. Also, it was that you not believe as far as the buyer. The buyer doesn't have to believe you because not biyodo, or you met him already, you didn't say anything, so you not believe. But you yourself, since you said that you don't deserve the money, you lose the money. How much money? All the money. Even though you might say the Sefer Torah is still valuable, that you could just fill in the names. You can't fill in the names. According to Rabbanan, there's nothing to do. And even according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you could correct one name, two names, whatever, here and there, but to make the whole Sefer Torah emphasized over there, bold print on every shame is not nice. And therefore the Sefer Torah has no eitzah. So you lose your money. New story. 3 lines from the bottom. Before we had Rabami, now it's Rabavo. And he told the Rav, Rabbi Avo, Sefer Torah shekasavti leploni kivilin shelo lo ibatim lishman. I made a Sefer Torah, also a sofer, but the klaf was not lishma. The ibud, the kivilin is the klaf. The gevil is the klaf. Yeah, gillion is but the gevil is the parchment, and this happens to be that there's the gevil and the chsustas and klaf. Klaf is really when the gevil is split in half. Gevil is the whole hide that's worked out, and lechatchila, that's what a sefer Torah is supposed to be used for. Nowadays they don't do it. Only some people are makbid to try to make gevil. Gevil is the whole hide that's worked out, and klaf is and gevil again. Klaf is so if you know how to do it, it's supposed to be able to be split by the split. How do you say split? Split. That it has two, like you have the klaf, but if you know how to do it with the proper tannins, it's going to become it comes to a right. It's something natural. There's something that it's also not half and half. One is a thick one is a thin one, and the one is the chsustas, one is the klaf. And nowadays they don't know how to do it. They're learning again how to do it with the different tannins. When they do sid, it doesn't happen. Sid is the lime, the way they work out the klaf nowadays. But the old way of doing it, the natural way of doing it, is they do it with tannins, and they're learning how to do it. And they most people don't. The cloth that we have usually is just rubbed off on one side. They're rubbing away part of it, and the other way is the a picture of what are they showing? I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't. I can't tell from the picture what I mean to say. Okay, if that's what he did, but they could have done it differently. They could have shown you a small piece. I think I have at home a small piece that you can see how it comes apart. There's the epidermis maybe and the dermis. I'm not sure. And it naturally it's two different textures and they come apart. And one is called the klaf, one is called the chsustas. And nowadays they don't really do that. The Sefer Torah would be best to do with the gevil. I think Avrohom Zweig, he made a Sefer Torah over there in Beitar. They made a Sefer Torah with gevil. Some people do the gevil. Right? And the Rebbe also has Sefer Torah. Has Sefer Torah with gevil. How thick is it? Does it noticeably? It's noticeably. It's noticeably much heavier than a regular Sefer Torah. Okay, so what's the gear to us is that he said the klaf, what we call the klaf, was not mu'ubad, was not worked out. The tanning process was not done lishma. Here it says you have to have the tanning of the klaf has to be done lishma. We had a Gemara about 10 pages ago. Also spoke about the batim. They also have to be done lishma. Over there, machlokes if the batim have to be lishma. So he said, the gevil is what we call klaf, means what we call the parchment, whatever the paper that you wrote it on. That's it. It was not worked on lishma. And I said that what we call a klaf nowadays, they're calling gevil because that's what they usually write a Sefer Torah on. Nowadays they write it on klaf. So I'm just translating the words. It means that the parchment was not worked out lishma. So he's saying Sefer Torah is possible. Sefer Torah is puzzle. I gave him a Sefer Torah that's puzzle. So same thing. I believe Amalei Sefer Torah biyad me. Who has a Sefer Torah? Did he give it to him yet? Amalei biyad lokeach. I gave it back to him already. Amalo. So now what would we think he's going to say? Same as before. No, what you got paid for writing the Sefer Torah. You have to, give the money back. Not the working for the Sefer Torah. You wrote a Sefer Torah. He wrote the Sefer Torah, but now it doesn't help anything. What's the Sefer Torah? The klaf is no good. So it's a possible Sefer Torah. So you're not eligible for your money. And we would say, and the Sefer Torah is kosher because you're not believed. It's not the other anymore.
What if he had a good reason why he made the mistake? He bought the klaf. He had a good reason why he made a mistake. He bought the klaf from somebody, and after he bought it, the person who sold it said he made a mistake, sold him the wrong klaf.
So here it seems from the words that the sofer used to have. He was the kolbo. He used to do everything. He says the Sefer Torah that I wrote, I didn't work it out lishma lo ibadatim lishman. So nowadays we have the klaf macher, and he's the vatim macher and he's the writer. But it sounds like it's all the same responsibility. Or the case is that it was the responsibility of the sofer to get the good klaf. He didn't get a good klaf. He got a pasha the klaf from a goy, whatever, or from somebody that didn't do lishma, and he thought he was going to get a cheap deal. But then he did tshuva, and that's what the Sefer Torah, and he gave it over. He said, "I want to do tshuva. It's possible." So maybe Yaakov says that he should forfeit his pay, but the Sefer Torah is still kosher because you're not believed, because it's not in your hand anymore. It's not b'yodo. Or you met him already, Sefer Torah, and you didn't say anything, but he says a little different. Amalo, Yitov Shatanem Alav Seschorcha, Atanem Alav Sefer Torah. Here he says you are believed. You believe to forfeit your pay, and therefore you also believe that the Sefer Torah is possible. So that's very different. Why you believe? We said before it's not b'yodo anymore. So what is it on top of the page? Umayshna, to lose your pay, you'll believe that the Sefer Torah is possible. And the question is why? We said it's not b'yodo. Why? Everything's possible, right? How come before Bami said that you're not believed to pass all the Sefer Torah? Yeah, a new reason to be believed. He's willing to lose all of his pay. That's the reason to be believed. If he comes, another case also, so it could be that he thought he's going to get a lot of money anyway. He's not going to get $50,000, but he's willing to forfeit $10,000, whatever, and for the shemos. But he thought he's going to be able to get money for the 40,000 because they'll fix up all the shemos. He's willing to fix up all the shemos, so that's not such a big nemanas. It's only $10,000. I don't know. But here that he knew he's losing everything, so he wouldn't have said it unless he's saying the truth. So it's a new reason to be believed. It's not because it's b'yodo. It's not b'yodo anymore. But so Hefsed Nuba comes to be a reason to be believed. The fact that he's willing to forfeit so much money, he must be saying the truth. Rabbi Yirmiyah was the one who said that maybe he should get money for the Sefer Torah. Amalei Rabbi Yirmiyah, the second white line before. Let him get at least the money for the Sefer Torah besides the shemos, just deduct the shemos. So he told him no, because you can't fix it up anymore, because even according to a beauty can't fix it up because it's going to be spotted. So he might have made that mistake. He might have thought, I'm only going to lose the money for the shemos, but not for the whole Sefer Torah. But here that he knew he's going to lose the whole Sefer Torah, so he would not, just to make somebody else miserable, he's not going to lose his whole $50,000. To lose $10,000, he wouldn't make somebody miserable. Really, he's saying a lie. But if he's only going to lose it, the name the shemos, so it's maybe kedai for him to make the other guy crazy, and I'll lose a couple of $1,000. But for the shemos, but I'll have to work again to do all the shemos again. But to lose all of his money, even if he wants to make that a guy mishugah, he's not going to do that. And he came. And he came and he told us, he came and said it. He knew he was going to lose all of his money. But it will say that he said the truth. There's reason to think that he said the truth. Okay. I think we pass like Rava, a Chora, that even if he's not b'yodo, he's still neman. Even if it's not b'yodo, he says only if it's b'yodo. Rava said, and all the Tanam like that, the whole Gemara was like that. But Rava says that he's not neman even if it's not b'yodo, as long as he didn't meet him and be quiet. No Mishnah. We're still in Tikkun Olam world. So the beginning of Mishnah is not going to be Tikkun Olam, it only came in because of the end of the Mishnah. So we do get something that's even like a bonus on a bonus, not even going to be Tikkun Olam. Let's make this a little bigger. No Mishnah. Hey, Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, Allah Chavesh. This is a Mishnah in Edius also over there talks about testimonies that Tanam came when they were being collecting all of the different halachas and made a Masechta called Edios. Testimony, some say the best Edios. So he testified about the following thing. Allah Chavesha she'isi avia she'alasa beger. A Chavesha is a woman who's not a bardas. She's deaf mute, and her father, so she doesn't have das. She's considered no Chavesha to bekatan. Chavesha is deaf mute. She'isi. Her father married her off. So her father has the jurisdiction to marry off his daughter, and he does have das. So even though she has no das, he can make her married, because as long as she's not yet bas mitzvah, she's a katan. So the father, until a marriage, that's the way any girl, a father could marry off. So, and as long as she's a katan or a married. So he married her off. So it's kedushin deraisa. This woman is married on the deraisa level. Okay, now the husband wants to divorce her. Why not? Because she has no das. She has no das. So the chiddush is she yields up a get that she could be divorced. Why? The Gemara is going to say because you don't need das. We don't need the woman's das because her husband does it against her will. So you don't need the woman's das for a get. For kedushin, yes. So here for kedushin, they have the father. If it would have been that she married on her own, so the whole kedushin is drabanan. So the get surely could be drabanan. But here the kedushin is the raisa. So you have to get the raisa. How can you get the raisa? She has no das. The chiddush is you don't need das for a get. You don't need the woman's das. You need the husband's das. But if the man be a cherish, then you can't. The woman, she also forget. Oh yeah, imagine even the body that they wouldn't allow because she has no way to. Yeah, that was one thing you testified. There's nothing to do with taking olam. This mission is a bonus. There's nothing to do with taking olam. You want other things that Avrohom is going to say. Another thing, also not taking olam. Well, Katana Bas Yisrael, she says the Kohen, Shachalas Betruma, V'Meisa Bala Yosha. A Katana that got married to a Kohen. This is not that her father married her off. She married herself off. So it's Kedushin D'Olam. So she's not allowed to eat Truma Midaraisa because she's not really married to him. It's only Kedushin D'Olam. Or the father didn't marry. She doesn't have a father, yes, she doesn't have a father. There's no difference. Mother and brother, same as herself. The mother and brother, just another way of saying that, other people besides the father. So she got married to a Kohen, and it's only Kedushin D'Rabbanan. So the Kohen's wife is allowed to eat Truma, Miknas Kaspa, but this is not really his wife. With D'Rabbanan, he's allowed to be with her. It's a marriage D'Rabbanan. But out of the Raisa level, he's not married to her. Does she eat Truma? So he shouldn't be able to eat Truma because she's not really a wife of a Kohen. And then he marries her. Then he married that. It could be that he doesn't have to have a whole chasana, but he has to marry her. He's marrying her when she gets bigger. But here it says she could eat truma. How could she eat truma? She's not really married. So Taisa says, the Gemara says in Yavamas, it means truma drabanan. That she could eat truma drabanan. Then Baisa Bala Yosha, and also if she dies, and she's only married with Rabbanan, so maybe the Yorshim should be the Yorshim Daraisa. But the Raisa, husband's not a husband. The husband Yorshim is with the Raisa, but only if he's married the Raisa. But she's not really married. So they made a takana that the husband does get Yibusha, does inherit her. That they could do. They could take away the Yibusha from somebody else. So that was two things that so far that Rabbi Yochanan and Gittin said. And now we continue with the takana. This going to be a takana now. Somebody stole a beam. So you have to get back to beam. And now he wants to do tshuva and give it back, but it's a very hard tshuva because he has to take down his house. So she told us that the man of Takana that he should just pay money. He comes to say tshuva, he says, I'll pay back, but it's too hard for me to take down the building. So it's enough to give the money. For the benefit of the repenters, people who do tshuva, peniters. I want the people. I want the people who. I don't want tshuva. I want shavim. People, tell me a word in English for the penitents. Penitents with the not yes. The people who do tshuva, the balei tshuva, that they should be able to do tshuva, or else they're not going to want to do tshuva. The best is going to say you have to take down the house. He's going to fight. So Besson could beat him up, but they say it's good. Fine, pay the money. Another takana, that's very takana. That's why it's in the list over here. Takana satikana olam. Somebody stole an animal, and he brings it for a korban chatas. Okay, he was a Shabbos. He needs a korban, so he steals an animal and brings a korban. So really, so the tikkun olam is that it's mechaper. Now it says shalom no dollar rabbim, but it was not public. People don't know about it. If people know about it, so then it's not mechaper. If people don't know about it, it's mechaper. If they tikkun olam is beyond. So the Gemara is going to talk about that if the Kohanim are worried that maybe this person means a korban, every korban chatas that comes, maybe it's stolen and it's not a good korban, so then they're going to be hesitant to bring the korbanos. If they tikkun olam is beyond, they have said that it's kosher as long as it's not no dollar rabbis. They have Kohanim. The Kohanim are not going to want to bring the korban because maybe it's a stolen korban. Right. So this was in order to do Tikkun HaMizbeach, they made that it should be Mechaper. How could the Chacham say it's Mechaper? I imagine that Hefker Bez Hefker, they confiscated it from the real owner in order to give it to this person. No, it should be a good carbon. Is that good? Everybody's happy? Yeah, the last two. The first two are not, the second two were. Amar Rava. May I do so? Shall Yochanan ben Gudgada, from the testimony of Yochanan ben Gudgada about divorcing a chareshes, which has no das. So I can learn the following halacha. May I do so? Shall Yochanan ben Gudgada, I can learn the following halacha. Amar Eidim, who gets that? Shani no sein. He told Eidim, look at this get. He opened it up. Look at the get. It's a get. You see, it's a divorce. It has everything. My name, her name, everything's here. And then the chaz of Amar kin sishtachol. He folded it up and told his wife that this is a check. He was scared to give it to her and say that it's a get. So he told her, here's a check. He told them first, you see, it's a get. They saw that it's a get. And he tells his wife that it's a shtachol. It's some kind of a document of debt, that, so she didn't, a what? A what kind of certificate? How do you get that over here? Debt. That a check for $1 million. I raised it's a good get. She didn't know she's getting divorced. She took it as a present, and then she opens it up and she sees that's a get. But he ran away already. He didn't want to give it to her face to face. So he told Aiden that it's a get, and then he gave it to her, telling her that it's a present, and it's a good get because even though she didn't know she's getting divorced. What's the proof? Battery is running low. Okay. He told Aiden, see the get? He told Aiden, this is a get. You see the get? And then he opened it up and gave it to his wife and told her that it's a present. Right. Because we know that it's a get. The problem is that she didn't know she didn't know she's getting a get. So the chiddush from Avrohom and good halacha, you see, it's not a problem. Milo Amar Yochanan and good lo bina daita, just like Avrohom says, you don't need her das, and even though she's a chavesh, it's a get. Okay, not milo bina daita. You don't need her das, and she doesn't know she's getting divorced. It doesn't make a difference. She's getting divorced. And the more says pshita, that goes around. Same thing. What's the difference of chavesh? So she thinks she's getting a present. You might think that once he says that this is a shtar chov, it's a check. You might think there's another way of saying that to get his bottle. We had in the beginning of Perka Sholeach, someone says, I raise a cheres, I raise a kicheres. If he says that's a nothing, so there's a way of being a bottle a get. So you might think that he's saying that's not a get. So by saying it, he now denounced the get. Mashmalan, that's not what he meant. It means that the bottle, if he meant to be a bottle, he would have told Adam that it's a shtar chov and it's a garnish. Why did he tell his wife? Because he's embarrassed of her, that he's divorcing her. So he wanted to divorce her, but he didn't want her to know. So he told her that it's a check and it's not mevato and it's a good gift. Embarrassment. But Ktana Bas Yisrael, it says that a Ktana also that married a Kohen, she could eat truma, even though it's kedushin rabbanon. And the Mishnah doesn't talk about a chareshes. How about a chareshes married to a Kohen? Could she eat truma? So Rashi learns that it's talking about a chareshes that married herself off. You could learn the Gemara also. It might be easier to learn the Gemara that it's talking about a chareshes that her father married her off, and it's also a kedushin raisa, and it sounds like she cannot eat truma. But whatever you want to learn, Rashi says it's talking about a chareshes married kedushin drabbanan. The Mishnah's Tana case is surely that she was a kedushin drabbanan. Again, the Mishnah Tana Bas Yisrael is a kedushin nusun drabbanan, and the chiddush is she could eat truma. Tana is not a bardas. Every Tana is not a bardas. And the reason why and she's married with rabbanan, and she could eat truma drabbanan. If the father married her off, then there's no chiddush. Of course, if the father married her off and she could eat truma and she the Yerusha, everything's the raisa. The Mishnah by Ketana is talking about that it was kedushin drabbanan, and the chiddush is even though it's kedushin drabbanan, she could eat truma. So she says truma drabbanan, and if she dies, her husband yashins her with rabbanan. And the Gemara is talking about a chareshes. How about a chareshes married to a Kohen? So as pointing out, you can learn the sugi two ways. Either to learn the sugi is talking about that the father married her off, it's only kedushin drabbanan, or I'm sorry. either she married off herself and it's Kedushin Rabbanan, or the father married her off and it's Kedushin Daraisa. Question in the Rishonim. But the Mishnah doesn't say that a Chavesh is married to a Kohen can eat Truma. It sounds like she cannot. And the question is, why not? If they Kedushin, it was going to take it step by step, but the Gemara is going to come to say that even Truma Rabbanan, the Chorah, she should at least be able to eat Truma Rabbanan. The Gemara starts off, why not? My time, here it's a healthy man that's marrying a Chareshes. But we're going to ask her to eat Truma because of a case which is similar, a Cheresh b'Chareshes, that the husband is also a Cheresh. Now, there's no real difference as far as, let's say Rashi, the Chareshes is, she's married off herself, not the father. The father didn't marry her off. We'll learn Rashi that's because usually people learn Rashi first for sure. So Rashi knows that's talking about a Cheresh is married herself off. So it's only Kedushin Rabbanan, and there's no real difference if the husband is the Cheresh also. It's anyway Kedushin Rabbanan. If the woman is a Cheresh, so there's no das. So it's not a Kedushin. If the husband is also Rabbanan, doesn't make any difference. So the Rashi says in Yavam is that there's no real difference. It seems it doesn't make any sense. It's only a lead up to what the Gemara is going to say further. Wow. Yeah. And so far the Gemara says, and the Gemara says, so what's the problem? Even if the Gemara thinks not Truma Daraisa, the Gemara in this point is so much Truma Daraisa. How come she cannot eat? So the Gemara says, really should be able to, but it's there because of Cheresh and Chareshes. And what's the problem over there? Even that should be able to eat. Means the Gemara at this point is talking about that it's Truma Daraisa, and really you're not supposed to be eating because she's not really the wife of a Kohen. But so what's the difference? Means that if a Katan is eating treif, do you have to stop him? So there's a question, but this Gemara is going that you don't have to stop him. So what's the problem? The Gemara is asking, even though she's eating Truma Daraisa, this woman who's a Chareshes, either married to a Pikeach or married to a Cheresh, but either way, she's not really married to the Kohen. And the Gemara wants her to be able to get married and eat Truma Daraisa, because even though it's treif, so to speak, it's Nevela as far as she's concerned. How is it Israel? It's Bas Yisrael, how should I eat Truma? The Gemara at this point doesn't have a problem, even though it's not very for her to eat it, but we don't, it's not our business. She's a Ketana, and she's eating treif. Ain't Bez Musaf like Fisha. Machlokas if you're allowed to, if you have to stop her or not. But the Gemara is going now at this point, what's the problem? We don't have to be concerned that a Ketana is eating treif. So we don't have to be concerned that the Charesh is going to be eating Truma. The Gemara says, no, there's a problem. Because once you do this, you're going to say that she's allowed to eat Truma. So when a Cheresh is going to marry a healthy woman, she's also going to continue eating it. What's going to be the case? Truma. She'll eat Truma. Truma Daraisa. And it's not a good marriage. The husband's a Cheresh. There's only Kedushin Rabbanan. And she's a Pikachas. And she's not a Ketana. She's not a Bas Yisrael. She thinks that's a marriage. I'm married to a Kohen. My husband's a Kohen. My husband, the Kohen, the Cheresh. So she's not allowed to really eat Truma because they're not really married. And she's going to think, you see all these other kids, I have a friend, Charesh is married to a Cheresh. I have a Charesh is married to a Pekech. All I'm eating Truma. I'm also going to eat Truma. But Pekach is married to a Cheresh is not allowed to eat Truma because she's a Yisrael. It's not really married to a Kohen. And she's Mitzvah. She's Chayvim Mitzvah. She's a Gedola. So that's the reason why she cannot eat Truma. The question is, Truma Rabbanan, at least eat Truma Rabbanan, the Kedushin Rabbanan, Truma Rabbanan. So since with the Rabbanan she's married to Kohen, she should be able to eat Truma Rabbanan. The Truma Daraisa. So a lot of Xeris over here. We're scared at the end. The real thing we're scared of is that it's going to end up that a Pikachas, a normal girl, that's a Gedola, what? Married to a Kohen who's a Cheresh, is going to end up eating Truma. That's a problem. That'll be a problem because she's a Gedola that's Chayvim Mitzvahs, and she's not married to a Kohen because it's not a real marriage because he's a Cheresh, and she's going to end up eating Truma Daraisa. That's the problem. Because of that problem, we made a lot of Gezeres. He said that even Truma Rabbanan not to eat, and not only the Pikach is married to a Cheresh, even Charesh is married to a Cheresh, and even a Charesh is married to a Pikach, all the same, there's no difference. Because of this one case of Pikachas married to a Cheresh that's going to eat Truma Daraisa, we asked even a Cheresh and a Chareshes to eat Truma Rabbanan. Why the Ketana? There's no such all these Xeris. So we allowed a Ketana married to Rabbanan, is not to eat Truma Rabbanan. But a Chareshes, once it's going to be confusing, might end up that a Pikachas married to a Cheresh is going to eat Truma Daraisa. So we said, don't eat Truma. So Chareshes is not allowed to eat Truma, even Truma Rabbanan. And the next Allah was about the stolen beam. This is simple. Mugazal marry Shabana Bebira. someone stole a beam and built it into his house or his mansion, make it a little bit more dramatic. Maybe Shammai says you have to take down the whole house and give back the beam. They say, maybe in order that people should do tshuva, so he only has to pay back the money. Al Chatas Gezula, they made a takana that is stolen korban chatas. If no one knows about it, people don't know about it. The Gaza knows about it, but no one else knows about it, so it's machaper. But the advice is not a good korban because it's not yours. My timer, yesh kedi lo kan. The word kedi means yesh alone. Yesh alone means the owner. It's had only years over here, and that's not enough that you should be able to own it. So it still belongs to the original owner. So if it doesn't belong to you, it's not your korban. So with the rice, it doesn't make a difference if you know about it, don't know about it. It's not a good korban. Kedim is yesh alone without shini rishos or shini ma'isa. The other things also that combine together with yesh, maybe the ganav is koneh. But if there was nothing done to the animal, it's not shini ma'isa or shini rishos. So you're not koneh. The yesh alone. Yush levad. That's how we would say in Hebrew. Yush levad lo kan. Yeah. So how? So you know, it still belongs to the owner, right? Even though it's miyayish, it still belongs to the original owner. So it's not your korban, and the korban you bought is not a good korban. So how come they said it's a good korban if you don't know about it? So how come Chazal said that if you don't know about it, so it's mechaper? Shalom, you kohanim matzevim, that the kohanim shouldn't be sad. Why would they be sad? They're going to bring a korban that's not really a kosher korban. And what's the problem? So I would think the problem is you bought a korban that's not kosher. But Rashi says, we'll see in the Gemara soon, the problem is they're going to end up eating it, and it's not really a korban. They're eating chulin, shenish bazar. If it's not a real korban, so it's chulin. Someone shechted a regular animal, and now in the azar, you're not allowed to eat chulin, shenish bazar. So they're going to be sad that they might be eating chulin, shenish bazar. Not the problem of bringing the korban on the mizbech, but as much as they're going to be eating it. So that's yeah, we have a b'shol gig, but they got a bear, so they're not going to want to bring the korban because they're not going to want to eat it. The Mishnah says not because of the Kohen. The Mishnah says because of the Mizbeach. Where's the Mizbeach? That's the problem. They're not going to bring the korban and be sad. They're going to be sad and not bring the korban. In order they shouldn't be sad. They're not going to want to get involved with a chash. Maybe it's a puzzle korban, so they're not going to bring the korbanos. So in order to make that the Kohen shouldn't be scared to bring korbanos, they said that Hefke Bes and Hefke will make that it belong to the Kohen. And on the side that it's stolen, it belongs to him and it's a kosher korban. That was all the Ula. That's how Ula started. Rav Yehuda, Amar, they're different. He holds Yesh Kedi is Kohen. So it is a good korban. The rice it is Mechaper. Why? Because he was Kohen. My time, Yesh Kedi Kani. The one who was stolen from, the Nignav, he was Miyayish, and therefore belongs to the Ganer. And it's a good korban, even if you know about it. Ahmed Beis, Umatam, Amru Noda Eina Mechaperes. He learns the other way, that the Katana was to say that if you know about it, it should not be Mechaper. Really, it's Mechaper. Really, it's a good korban, even if you know about it. How come they said that it's not a good korban? That it doesn't look good that the Mizbech is eating stolen goods. So even though it's kosher, we made it a korban that it shouldn't be kosher. And the Mishnah seems to say the opposite. The Gemara is going to ask soon. The Mishnah says Tikkun Olam is that Chata Shalom Noda. The Gemara is going to say that it means Chata Shalom Noda is not good. The Gemara wants to know why is it after Chatas? How come Chatas? How about Ola? How about other karbanos? So the Gemara here you see the Gemara's issue of the Kohanim was that they don't want to eat it. Not only bring it on the Mizbeach. The problem is they don't want to eat it. So by Chatas that the Kohanim eat the meat, so they're not going to want to bring it. That's why he says Chatas. But Ola, there's no problem because they don't eat anything. If you say that they made a takana that the Mizbeach should not take stolen goods, then not only a Chatas, even Ola also. Any korban. You have to make it takana that they don't bring it if it's stolen. And the answer is that's what he means. It means that it goes without saying. Not only a Ola which is completely burnt on the Mizbeach. Surely it doesn't look good that the Mizbeach is taking stolen korbanos. That not only a Ola, which the whole animal goes on the Mizbeach, that surely doesn't look good for the Mizbeach. But even a Chatas that only the fats and the blood goes on the Mizbeach, but the rest of it goes to the Kohanim, so it doesn't look so bad to the Mizbeach. Still, also, we don't want the Mizbeach to take the blood and the fats either, if it's stolen. That's why they made the takana not to bring a korban Chatas either. The Gemara is right from our Mishnah. The words of our Mishnah sound like Ula, the Nan. Achatas Akzula Shalom Lo Del Rabim Shima Chaperes, the Betikin Mizbech. It says the Mishnah, word for word, that the kind of was Shalom Lo Del Rabim, that is Machaper. According to Ula, that's why that's the Pshat. They really with the Raisa, it should not be Machaper. And for Lo No Da, if it's not known, they made a Katakana that should be Machaper. Ishlam Adula Nicha, that the kind of was that the Lo No Del Rabim is Machaper. And Lavuda, Ibchami Boile, it should have said the opposite. That when it's no Del Rabim is not Machaper. That's pointing, that's the Ikatakana. And the Moshe says that's what it means. It's a little knech, but it's not. That's what the Mishnah means to say. Lo no the mechaperes. Dafka lo no there's mechaperes, but no the ain't a mechaperes. So it's a little difficult, the hurdle, but the rest of the Mishnah means to say that only if it's lo no there's mechaper. They mean to say that really if it's no there's not mechaper. And the reason is because people shouldn't say that the mizbeach is eating stolen goods. Okay, yeah, up to Massive Rava. How is the rest of the world going so fast? But losing every day.